Now, you're in contact with the Andromedans. Who exactly are the Andromedans?
They're a particular race that exists in the constellation of Andromeda. They're just one of thousands that exist out there. They are the particular races that I talk to and have had contact with and have given me and shared information with me are human. They're white-skinned to light blue-skinned, anywhere from 4 foot tall to 8 feet tall, and they are human in every way.
Now, where did they originate, Alex?
All human life originated in Lyra. And when Lyra fell during a war, long before one of the stars there exploded, they migrated out from Lyra during a war in order to preserve the race, and they went to different parts of our galaxy. So all human life originated from Lyra originally. Because of their environment, they will, from generation to generation, pick up physical changes depending upon the surface and the organics of their planets and so on and so forth. The different colored race skins have to do with genetics involving the stars in which that they're exposed to. The abilities that they have are latent in everybody. They just haven't lived in a society that has been screwed with like we have been here. They're all telepathic, they're all clairvoyant, they're all healers because they're taught all of the sciences. They're whole. I guess that's the only way that I can put it to you, is that they're completely whole. Every soul knows who they are, they know who they've been, they know what their reincarnational past has been. They as a soul have a personal agenda, which every time they incarnate they're consciously aware of. So they know where they're going. They see improvement in themselves life after life after life. We, if we hadn't been so screwed with here, would have the same abilities. We could very much be where they are. But we've been manipulated incredibly for the last 5,700 years on an intense level every day. Our real manipulation really started about 14,000 years ago, when the Orion group started manipulating our DNA structure. So it isn't that they're better, because they're not. We're just different. We're a little bit behind than they are because of our manipulations here. But the real bottom line here is we're all spirit. We contain a soul. That soul is a part of all that is. And that soul has been really trying to be recognized in each of us. And it hasn't been because of the material and the belief systems that we have evolving around us being earth people, about being physical, and about the real truths of our essence, of our existence, of who we are, having been blinded from us, from our spiritual teachings, from the religions, and us being convinced that we're something that we're not, that we're physical, that we're animal form, and we're not. We're spirit. Our spirit animates these physical forms, period.
Alex, what is the Andromedan Council?
It is a, excuse me.
Oh, sure.
It is a political body that's represented by now 133 different races and cultures and planetary systems. There are over 1,200 systems and planetary races, evolving races that could be part of the Andromeda Council, but not all of them are. It would be comparable to Earth here to like a United Nations, except it's not a United Nations in the sense that it has a political agenda. The Andromedan Council, as a body, their sole purpose is to facilitate evolvement of all life in the galaxy, and that's really what their goal is to allow all life forms to evolve on their own without manipulation. Obviously, that's not occurring here on Earth. And we're not the only ones. This is occurring on 22 other planets in our galaxy. But the other planets are not stuck in the muck that we are, to the degree that we are here. And this is a major concern for them, because we're not moving in a direction that we should be moving. There are elements here that are definitely holding us back. And because Earth has become this real prize, and not only Earth, but us as well. So I'm getting off a little bit.
Okay.
I want to stay with your questions.
So its overall goals then are to elevate the spirituality of all life forms in their own particular ways.
Evolutionary ways, right. That they evolve according to the degree of their consciousness.
Now, how and why was it first brought into existence, the Andromedan?
I don't know. I do know that it was formed shortly after the Orion Wars, which was a huge war that lasted 600,000 years in our galaxy. And it was predominantly between the humans, the human race, of which there's all kinds of humans, hundreds of billions of humans, and those of reptilian races that do coexist in our galaxy.
Now,
there was no winner, by the way. Apparently both sides got so tired of killing each other, they just kind of stopped, and a undeclared truce was formed. And I know in Orion, where there's a very large group, they have their own political group called the Orion Group, and the humans and other life forms that came together formed the Andromedan Council. And there are others, that are a small part of each of the galaxy, and other galaxies apparently have their own little groups where people come together and decide, what's happening, or they communicate with each other. There's trade, there's bartering, there's a sharing of wisdom, of knowledge, of essences, so that everything can evolve together and work in an unconditional love type of space.
What have they asked you to do in order to help them?
Just to disseminate information. I'm currently in the process of trying to investigate all of the current UFO information that's out there, and what I've had the ability to do is sometimes check it with them. Well, is this true? Is that true? And they've said yes, or they've said no. There is a lot of disinformation out there. So what I've been trying to do is just to assimilate what is real and give it from their perspective of how it affects us. We have a real mess on our hands.
Okay, let's talk about some of that. According to your Andromedan sources, there are 3 groups of extraterrestrials who are involved in very distressing agendas here on Earth. One is the renegade gray-skinned Zeta Reticulans. Another is the Giza intelligence, formerly of the Pleiades. And a third is the Reptilians from Alpha Draconis. Is there another?
Yes.
Okay.
There's the Orion Group as well, and there's 141 of them here. And they're from Ursa Minor, Ursa Major, Rigel, and Betelgeuse. From that particular group, that particular area of the star system. There are a lot of agendas here, hidden agendas. And you have to understand that some of the races, for example, the Draconians themselves did not evolve as a life form in our universe. They were dumped here. They were brought here because they're just a pain. They're incredibly smart, they're incredibly psychic, they're incredible builders, but they're bullies. Their whole thing is control, domination. And because there's no race in our universe that can really beat them up and wipe them out, they don't have to choose light or dark. They're just where they are. And they've chosen the opposite polarity. They're a tough bunch. They've manipulated a lot of civilizations throughout our galaxy. They're also responsible for the 600,000-year war, which almost annihilated the human species in our galaxy. and they show very little remorse about it. Hopefully they'll be leaving soon. But the others are life forms that have evolved, like the Orions, the Orion group. The Orion group has been genetically manipulated and have been deeply entrenched in draconian belief systems. So they're carrying that energy or that torch for whatever their agendas are, as well as their own agendas. Okay? The Reptilians, the Greys have been controlled and manipulated by the Orion group. So there is a system, a class system here that's been established, and this is very common in the non-benevolent or regressive extraterrestrial structures, where there's a class system of workers, warriors, administrative or priests, and then the hierarchy, the royalty. And the lower you are, the worse you're treated. We have a history of that here on our planet as well.
Right.
You know,
The caste.
and we've been taught this by the aliens themselves.
Right.
And the Pleiadians very much were part of that as well. For a time, they were very much in that belief system.
Is there an Earth quarantine that the renegade Zeta Reptilians violated?
Yes.
And what was that quarantine?
The quarantine was they were supposed to, well, it's the same quarantine that evolves, that any other evolving planet has. No intervention with an evolving race. But because of our genetic stock, the Greys did it. Now, but they did it in such a way that they didn't totally violate our free will. You know, they dangled a technological carrot to the government, and the government took the bait. They said, sure, you know, for their own reasons, they took the bait. And there was an exchange of technology, you know, and there was a treaty that was signed. And this is a dilemma that the Andromedan Council has. You know, if the United States military had said, go away, the Greys would have had to have left.
So was this the Air Force Base situation or the Eisenhower situation where he had representatives? Is this the one that took place in the 50s?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, and this was with the Long-Nosed Greys then?
That's true, and there were two groups there as well. The 7 from Sirius B, who are still here, were also witnesses to this, to add credence to it.
Okay.
So,
Now,
and there are also, now just to add to this, the Andromedans have also said that in 1933, when the Greys really first got here, that they had actually approached the Germans, and the Germans said, no, you're out of here. We already have an agreement. And apparently the Germans were in touch with Giza intelligence. So the Greys left. They didn't pursue it at all. And they found their next opening here in the United States.
let's go digress just a moment. You mentioned Sirius B. They have a relationship with the Dogon tribes in Africa, correct? Is that correct?
Yes, I understand that there is some ancestral genetic connection there.
Okay. Does that play a part in what's going on here on a global level, or is that just a kind of a minor sidelight of information?
I don't think at this point they give a damn about the Dogons or the humans at all. They all have their own agendas. And the fact that the way we're being treated, and the fact that there's like no supportal government supportal information coming out of our government, or any truth that they even want to discuss, like just coming to the people and saying, look folks, we screwed up. We need your help. We need to raise a consciousness and start implementing. The fact that they don't even want to do that, tells you really, where they're at. What I do know about the Syrians is that between Sirius A and Sirius B, there is a civil war going on there. And a lot of that, and there are also 21 other systems. There's war going on in Perseus as we speak. And 21 other star systems are also looking at the potential. And it has to do with the fact that there is now an uplifting of energy in our universe that's occurring. And the two positives, fear and love, are just banging themselves at each other. And the intensity is growing. Is growing every single moment.
So
and we're just a microcosm of that.
Now, as you're disseminating all this information to us, we should look at all this information in the spirit of love, so we don't feed any energy into the spirit of fear.
Love is the answer. That's the bottom line. Love is the answer. Love does conquer all. Love does move mountains. It can make the shifts in consciousness, but it starts, number one, with ourselves.
So
That's
even
where it
all
starts.
this is going on around us, we just need to remember to focus on love and
Love of self and love of earth, love of race. That's right.
okay.
That's right.
Now, when did the Zeta Reticulans begin to create their genetic atrocities? Where did this take place on Earth, and what have the results been?
Well, it's occurring everywhere. Much of it is occurring underground. Some of it's occurring in the oceans. Some of it's occurring on the moon. Some of it's occurring on Phobos, the moon of Mars. It's happening in a lot of different places.
Is that an artificial moon?
Yes, yes, absolutely. Soul's our moon. Our moon's artificial, completely artificial. It was brought here from Ursa Minor, apparently between 11 and 12,000 years ago.
For the purpose
of being a satellite and a base, which they evacuated some time ago, but it's now being operational again. And I covered this in the series of 8. It came from a star system called Chata. That's for a word. That's the word they use, Chata, and it was the 17th planet out of a solar system that had 21 planets, and it was one of 4 moons. And it was brought here. It is older than the Earth. There are ruins all over it. There are bases underneath it. It's everything that we're told it isn't. So that's a whole unique story unto itself.
Okay, now, what are the results of these atrocities, these genetic atrocities been, and are we going to begin to see more of them appearing?
Well, the Greys are trying to create a sub-race that is a blend between human culture, the human race, and their race.
A kind of a hybrid Sith.
Exactly. They're not being very, very successful. And one of the things that they're trying to do is they're really looking for the soul. They don't understand the soul. They don't understand our extremes of emotions as well, because they're very, very different from us. Their experiments haven't been all that successful. There are a lot of emotional problems with that, because what really makes a human being is our essence, is the spirit that animates the physical form. Well, there's also another factor, and that is that they actually feed off the energy. They're vampires.
The Zeta Reticulan Greys.
The Greys, right. They're vampires.
Is this where we get our vampire legends? A lot of our vampire legends?
I don't know about that. I don't know if that has to do with it. I don't really know. I wouldn't be surprised, to be perfectly honest with you. But they feed off the energy. They can even bottle the energy and use it for later times. They're also stealing the vital bodies of human beings and storing it. So, I mean, they're just doing some really horrific things here that other races just simply wouldn't conceive of doing.
Now, are you familiar with Salvador Freixedo?
No, never heard of him.
Okay, he's a gentleman who proposes, he's a former Jesuit priest who proposes the idea that Colosseum-type sporting events are used to vampire energy off the crowds.
I wouldn't at all be surprised. Right. It wouldn't surprise me in the least.
He said, like, the sacrifice of human beings in some ancient civilizations here on Earth was a form of belief system that was set up for these beings to vampire energy off of.
I wouldn't be surprised at that either.
Okay. Now,
our wars here, it's the exact same thing. And to all of your viewers, I'm going to give you some homework. It is an absolute must that you go out and get the book, The Gods of Eden by William Bramley. It is an excellent introductory book that will bring you right up to speed with what's going on. It is over 80% accurate with the information in there, and I strongly suggest that people read it. It's excellent.
And the 20% that isn't accurate revolves around what type of ideas?
Around the soul and the being that we know as Jesus, okay, which I'm not going to go into.
Okay. How are the renegade Zeta Reticulans able to manipulate Earth's most powerful governments into a position of checkmate?
Oh, it's easy. That part was really easy. Number one, their technology is 2,500 years more ahead of us. Number two, because of our greed factor, certain groups of power elite are in touch with them on a physical level. Well, many of them are implanted. Many of them are so implanted that they have now become part of the gray group mind. And the Andromedans no longer consider some of these human beings, Terrans as they call us, human at all anymore. They're nothing but clones for what the Greys want. And they pass down orders, they tell others what to do, and of course the chain of command that we've established on our planet is exactly what's happening. Also, playing on the greed factor, those who are still human, they look at the fact that, well, they're here, they're the rulers, you know, we can still maintain our place of privilege in the world, so we'll form the new priesthood. We'll be the go-between, between the workers and the gods, just like we saw in Babylon, in Assyria, Egypt. It's all over again. It's history repeating itself all over again.
Because it's the control factor, the hierarchy is the established mode for these negative civilizations to keep their power structure intact.
That's right.
Okay.
You know, and it's another thing, and there's also one more factor. It is about human beings out for power, selling out their own race.
The World Club.
Just selling out the rest of us, the human race, for their moment in glory, for their privilege to be with the gods, so to speak, who are aliens. That's what it is. To have technology that can take them to the moon, to the technology that can take them to Mars, that'll give them the technology to do time travel. They totally sold out a race, our history, everything, for their brief moment in the sun.
Now,
Pisses me off.
I'm sure when they look back on their lives afterward, I would assume that they would regret their choice.
I don't know. I don't know.
How will the renegade Zeta Reticulans have to be removed?
It's, well, if we can create, if humanity makes a real commitment to create an environment of unconditional love and simply refuses to hate or to kill each other and destroy our planet, they'll have to leave because they can't deal with the vibration. If we can't, it's going to take outside intervention to get them out of here. Period.
Are the renegade Zeta Reticulans going to try to deceive humanity with an elaborate religious event they are staging?
The perceived second coming, yes. I have been told to really beware of that they are very capable of playing out the second coming, creating a clone who will look like the image on the Shroud of Turin, which, by the way, was one of their deals. And this soul will have holographic imprints and information regarding all the world's religions. He won't have a soul. And yes, I mean, we've been led down this path of the book of Revelations, that this is God's word. This is the way it has to happen. And you know what? God didn't write the Bible. Man wrote the Bible. Period. E.T.s didn't write the Bible, but some E.T.s did tell those souls, those men, what to write. And we have been led down this path where we totally will succumb our free will to become subservient. And I'm not here to offend anybody, but really think about it. Really think about, you know, what we've done and what our history has been. You know, we've been to this place so many times before, and we still haven't gotten it right. You know, and we're still not going to get it right unless we do it as a race and just cut out all the crap. Period.
What would be the outcome if human beings believed that renegade Zeta Reticulans were the hope of mankind?
We would know a tyranny and an enslavement that is far beyond anything we could even imagine. To put it just quite bluntly, we'll never be free again. We'll never be free again. We will be stuck until we're rescued by an outside force. We ourselves will not be able to break free. That's the bottom line. And right now, we have an opportunity. There is a window of time for us to break free, to do it ourselves, to really make this incredible leap ourselves, so that we can have the benefit of taking responsibility for it.
Now, in that passion that you talk with right there, that passion that we have, if we want to break free, should be manifested into the spirit of love.
Yeah, love, that's the bottom line. It's brotherhood. It's knowing that, hey, you know, we're a race. It doesn't matter the color of our skin. We are a race. And we're being messed with in a big way. We're being manipulated in an incredibly audacious way. They're just mocking how stupid we are when we're really not stupid. You know, but nobody will tell the truth. Nobody will come out and say, hey, you know, none of this is right. We would have never meant to live this way. And they have no right to come down here and mess with us the way they've done that. You know, and the real strength in us, in our own permanent evolvement as a race, will come from us standing up, taking a stand and saying, you know what, no way, we're not going to do this. We're not going to destroy ourselves for your enjoyment so you can feed off of us. You know, you have no right to manipulate our governments, you know, to create wars. None of this was right. And that's it. We need to stand up as a race, exercise our free will and say, you know what, we don't want to live this way anymore. We want to create a real future where our kids will have an opportunity to be whatever they want, to live in an environment that's clean, that's free, where they can have water to drink, where they can go out and eat fruit, where they can play in the dirt without getting radioactively toxic. All of this stuff that we're doing to ourselves. But the bottom line is, when you look at the whole picture and you go up the ladder, okay, we are not the enemy. The enemy isn't human at all. But it's pushing all our buttons so that we're so busy looking at each other and so neurotic about each other that we're not looking at the real reality here, the real cause, which is another race or races that are here who are totally playing games with us, feeding off our energy and hoping that we destroy ourselves so that they can keep the planet
and
themselves.
Really, let's say who it is again. It's the Orion group.
It's the Orion group. It's a group that is on its way here and now from Alpha Draconis. They're the real culprits behind this whole deal.
Alpha Draconis or Orion, or both those?
Alpha Draconis, they're the real culprits behind this whole thing.
Above the Orion group?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
then there's Orion, the Orion group, then you've got the Greys.
And where did the Giza intelligence fit in here?
They were just a group that were totally independent, that came in and did their own thing. They were perceived as gods, and they played the role out. And they got stuck in it. You know, they got stuck in the ego part of it. We're gods, we can do this, we have all this technology, and they just played it out for all that it was worth.
Okay.
But to be honest with you, at this point, they're not really much of a factor anymore. You know, Giza intelligence, they're not much of a factor at all anymore.
What should a human being do if they encounter a renegade Zeta Reticulan? What would your advice be?
Stand in their truth. If you can't run, stand in your truth and just look at them. If they try to project their thoughts into your head, you just stand firm with who you are and you say, no, you are not coming into my head, you are not taking me over, and you are not going to violate my free will. I don't give a damn who you are. Leave me alone. Period. Because if it's a benevolent, they will not try to do it. They will not try to take you over. They will not try to put crap into your head so they can feed off of your fear. Period.
All right. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to skip the Giza intelligence for the moment then, and we'll go to the Alpha Draconis.
Can we take a short time out?
Definitely.
Thank you. You know, Rick, there's something else I want to stress here, and that is, and this is something that the Andromedans have really stressed. There is no race any better than us. Just because they're different, just because they're more evolved, doesn't mean that they're better. We are equal. We're just not maybe as aware as they are. But that doesn't mean that any race is any better or any less. In fact, we're all equal.
So we should not worship anybody?
Hell, no. Absolutely not. That's how we got into this mess in the first place. Absolutely, if you want to worship somebody, worship the God within you. That's it. Worship no one else. And if you're going to have a tyrant in your life, let it be that part of you that's critical of you. Let that be your only tyrant. Don't give anybody else any power outside of your physical form to be a tyrant, to control you, or manipulate you in any way. Be yourself. Because if you are yourself, you're a part of God, and that part of you knows what to do. It knows the right way to live. And, and this is really interesting. Because of our genetic makeup, of the 22 different races, and all of the DNA and the racial memories that we have and the genetics that we have, because of the fact that we are spirit, do you know, and this is an incredible thing, do you know that the Andromedans actually consider us royalty? They consider us royalty. We obviously aren't acting like royalty, but we're the only ones in our galaxy that can make the claim to having the genetics that we have and the possibilities and the capabilities of doing what we can do as a race. We're the only ones. They actually consider every single one of us royalty.
Okay, so the Andromedans tell you that the Alpha Draconians are here now. Where?
There are 1,833 of them that have been living underground between 100 and 200 miles beneath the surface. They've been here, some of them have been here a long, long time. They have lifespans that are thousands of years. They're carnivorous. They're not friendly to mankind, at least the ones that are here.
Are you saying carnivorous, they eat humans?
Yes. And they won't eat a dead human. It has to be alive at the time of the killing. Their preference is children. And we've been told, you shouldn't talk about that. There are other people say, well, you better not talk about the reptilians. Well, bull. Why not? According to the Andromedans, they're responsible for 31,712 children disappearing in the last 25 years from the United States. These children were food. And I'm supposed to just shut up and not say anything about it because people don't want to hear it? That's tough. That's tough. Westchester County, in the last 5 years, 3,000 children in Westchester County, New York, have vanished without a trace. Where are they going? Why are we allowing this to happen? And why should people stay in denial about it?
Now, how are they able to do this? How are they able to? How are they able to? How are they able to do it? How are they able to come up out of this from underground and do it, or do they have?
There are tunneling systems everywhere. They're being helped by the Greys, and also there are groups within the higher echelon that are actually helping them acquire this.
So human beings are abducting the kids and getting them to the Greys to in turn give them to the Alpha Draconians?
That's right. That's part of the deal. They won't come up as long as we feed them down there. You understand? It's about human beings selling themselves out. The echelon attitude here, the needs of the few outweigh the needs of humanity. And sorry, that just isn't right. But it's going to have to be humanity that's going to rise up and take the stand. You're just going to have to turn off your televisions. They're going to have to get in their car. They're going to have to fire everybody in Washington, D.C. that knows and does nothing. And they're going to have to do something. This apathy's got to end. Otherwise, the way we live is going to end. Period. I mean, that's the bottom line. And I'm not coming from a fear space. I'm really quite angry about the apathy and the fact that, when people give lectures and try to tell us, people want to stand up and fight with them. Look at what's happening around us. The indications are everywhere. Everywhere. The truth is now an obscure thing. The lie is the norm. There's something wrong here. What's wrong with this picture? Sorry, I'm getting crazy.
No, you're not. You're expressing frustration, I think. Why, aside from the carnivorous aspect to the Alpha Draconians, why else are they dangerous to humanity?
Because they don't like us.
And what are they willing to do with humanity?
Eat us. There's no need for us. I mean, look at where we are. Look at us right now as a civilization, as a society. Okay? They don't need anything. They have all this technology that they want. We can't really offer them except maybe work, do some work for them. But they don't need all of us to work for them. They don't respect human life in any way whatsoever. And this goes back to Lyra, to where the original war started. When they got to Lyra originally, they saw this human race that was plentiful in food, that could grow food, that could do all of these agricultural things. And mankind on a whole is really agricultural. We really, as a race, if we were left alone, would be nurturing the earth. We would be living in tribal communities like the Native American Indians did. That's really our essence, our nature. I'm sorry. That's really our nature, our essence. And the cities and the culture that we're living in now has totally cut us off from the land, from what our real essence is, which is nature. And we're starting to feed off each other now. It's like so bizarre. I can't. It's like when I see the Andromedans, or when I've been exposed to the Pleiadians, when I see how they live and they teach and they live with each other and they respect each other, and I come here. It's like, it reminds me of that sentence that Abraham Lincoln, that quote that Abraham Lincoln once said. If you are above the earth looking down, you could be an atheist. But when I'm on the earth looking up and seeing the heavens, I know there's a God. It's like the duality. And I think enough of us, more of us, really need to start taking the perspective that what we're doing here isn't right. We need to get in touch with what's out there, with just the whole idea that, God, how did we get here? What makes me be here? As opposed to going home after work, turning on TV, watching 3 hours of television, going to bed, getting up the next morning, going to work, and doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, like robots. Throw the televisions away. Just throw them away.
Okay, what are the physical characteristics of the Alpha Draconians? What do they look like?
I don't have that. Maybe it's in the car. They're ugly. I mean, they think we're ugly, too. And I guess it's all a matter of perspective and belief system. In my belief system, and I'm only taking responsibility for me, they're ugly. They're anywhere from 7 to 22 feet tall. They can weigh up to 1,800 pounds. They're reptilian. The longer, the ones that have stubby tails, if you see one that has no tail, he's of the warrior class, or the worker class. The longer the tail, the higher their rank. When you see one with long tails, with winged appendages, he's considered royalty. Whenever you see one, you ought to just run like hell. You shouldn't approach it. You shouldn't provoke it. Just get the hell out of its way. Just get out of its way. Just run. There is a way to kill them. If you can't cut off their head, they have two hearts. There's one here, underneath this armpit, and one here. Or if you can't get to that area and you need to slow it down, you need to hit it right above its groin area. It has a very large liver. You need to wound it there to slow it down. It is not something where man-to-man combat you're going to be able to deal with, because they apparently have the strength of 12, 15 men. They're incredibly quick. They're incredibly psychic. They know what you're going to do before you do it. If they get here en masse, we got real problems. Real problems.
What do the Andromedans advise human beings to do if they encounter an Alpha Draconin?
To leave. You leave its space. Get away. To get away.
What if they can't?
Then they can't.
And if they can't?
They'll usually be killed.
And what have the Andromedans spoken in any detail about what a human being should do if they are in that position? For karmic purposes?
Look, that's not karmic at all.
Or
a lot of these, all this metaphysical stuff. Where you chose to be here. A lot of, in some situations that's true. When you're creating your reality and in your space. But when you're being invaded, that's not karma. That's a violation of free will.
If your free will is being violated, Alex, what should you do?
You should ask for help.
Okay.
Ask for help. put a call up to God, put a call up to heaven, put a call to the Andromedans, the Pleiadians, whomever. Just put a call up and deal with it.
What can an average person do? I mean, how can we reach out to the Andromedans?
Prayer, meditation. Everybody has their own way of praying or whatever. And again, I want to stress this: the Andromedans can help, but they're not God. They're not our saviors. We need to be our own saviors. We can ask them for guidance and help, but they're not God. Period. Don't worship them. Don't worship anybody. Worship the God inside of you.
What will happen to those human beings who do not make the jump?
They'll go somewhere else.
And what will happen to those beings who do make the jump after the jump?
They'll move into fourth and fifth density. And those of us who survive this incredible ordeal that we're about to really experience will become new teachers, and we'll be able to go to different worlds and teach what we know, and be able to teach other evolving civilizations what not to do and how not to get themselves in trouble. And we have an incredible future if we can get through that. If 10% of the population of the planet can really get it together, it'll create what is called the 100th monkey syndrome. And suddenly 11, 12, 13% people will just start getting it. And it's going to take 10%. That's 500, 600 million people right now. And it starts on an individual basis. The government's not going to tell you. God, we could be in. They're going to play out the second coming. They're going to try to present a savior. We're going to project holographic images in space and say we're here to save you. They're going to do mock battle. They're going to screw with us big time. Sorry, I slipped out that word. And folks, we just got to start paying attention. Don't take anything at face value. Make them prove it. And, whether you believe a word I'm saying, it doesn't matter. If somebody tells you that this is truth, make them prove it. If it's real, it'll stand up to scrutiny. If it isn't, it won't. Because the truth can always stand on its own. It doesn't need help, and it doesn't need lies to stand up. And let's end it there. Thank you for this time. It's been a real honor for me.
Thanks.